Welcome into the Big Chief Show. I'm your host, Fred Davis, alongside the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Mr. Bitter Mike Babbo on a Sunday morning. We're excited about Sunday's games. Hopefully you are too. I mean, look, we're getting down to the proverbial nitty-gritty, Mike Babbo, and we're doing it for a couple reasons. I mean, look, we're in week 13. I think there's one more bye week next week, and I know that because the Cardinals are on a bye next week, and the only reason I care about that is because I had to pick up their boy Cade Otton, the tight end, because once again, like the Who, unfortunately, I thought you couldn't fool me. I thought Kyle Pitts couldn't fool me again.
Yeah,
and he fooled me again. Okay, Kyle Pitts fooled me again, and this is now year 2 in a row where I've spent a higher than I should have draft pick.
Yeah, you didn't learn.
Kyle Pitts, only to suffer from the tight end position all year.
You are Charlie Brown, and Kyle Pitts is Lucy with the football.
No, you know who's losing with the football? Arthur Smith. That's who's losing with the football, okay? Because I'm going to ask you one thing, and look, he's the only reason I have Arthur Smith.
So wait, maybe Kyle Pitts is the football, and Arthur Smith is Lucy.
You know what? Kyle Pitts is the one black guy on Peanuts who never gets airtime, who always is put in the corner with all the, do we even know the black guy's name on Peanuts?
No.
Exactly, okay? And we don't know Kyle Pitts' production in fantasy football, okay?
Oh, you do.
Yeah. No, trust me. I do. Non-existent. Non-fucking existent. But hey, we digress. Look, big Sunday today, though. Not to get on a tangent about shitty tight end play. But and the tight end position has been interesting this year. It really has. But all you Sam Laporta fans out there, I know you guys are feeling good about yourselves. I'll tell you who's not. Let me ask you who's feeling worse about themselves right now. Florida State fans, Bama fans, or Texas fans?
Well, I think Florida State fans and Texas fans are feeling a little bit antsy. Bama fans are feeling really good about themselves in the fact that they lost only one game, and it was early in the season, and they arguably the most improved team in college football. They just broke Georgia's 29-game winning streak at essentially a road game in Atlanta in the SEC championship. And they do have a legitimate beef for being in the CFP. But Texas has just as much a beef as
Texas got the head-to-head.
They beat him at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
I mean that's honestly, they've got the ultimate mic drop. They've got the ultimate scoreboard.
Trophy case, scoreboard, whatever you want to call it. I mean, look, Bama could say whatever they want, but in the end, they still lost at home to Texas. And
watching Florida State play last night was brutal. I get it. Their defense is great. I'll tell you what I think was what was more alarming to me last night from a college football, from that Florida State Louisville game wasn't so much the Florida State kid did what you thought he would do. He was a true freshman quarterback making his first ever start in college football, having thrown only 4 passes all year long. So that didn't surprise me that he looked shaky all night long.
Sure.
What shook me was the fact that the Louisville quarterback looked like dog shit. Like, I'm sorry, but I get it. Florida State's got a great defense, but I felt like there were plays to be had out there. I just wasn't really sure what Louisville.
Well, what bothered me was that they didn't run the ball nearly as much as they should have. I mean, considering what a great run game that they have all year long.
Yeah.
I mean, they absolutely. So going into the Notre Dame game, they absolutely torched the Irish run defense.
Yeah.
And their defense, the run defense for the Irish was like top 10 in the country before that game. And they just ran them out of the building. And so for you to do that and then just basically put the run game on the back burner the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, how do you lose to Kentucky for like your 5th time in a row? And then you go into the ACC championship and look like that? Hey, it's just,
No, it was
Florida State's biggest problem is their strength of schedule, right? And the fact that they're playing in a basketball conference.
And let's call it what it is. I mean, look, Clemson's not that great this year. I mean, that hurts. You're even your mid to
your top 10 team, I think, is Duke, right? Your top
Duke was 7-6 this year.
Yeah, I mean that's the best team in your conference.
North Carolina was just okay. They were a team that everybody thought was going to do something special, but and it's just look, every conference has those 2 or 3 teams that stand out above the rest, and the ACC unfortunately this year just didn't have. They just weren't a deep, top-heavy conference. I mean, at least with the SEC, you can say, look, you had Georgia, you had Alabama, you had Tennessee, you had Ole Miss. Hell, you got Mizzou in the mix this year. That was a 10-win team when it was all said and done. So, again, the SEC did what they usually do. Top heavy, 4 or 5 really good. Hell, LSU came on late towards the end with 3 losses. So, it's one of those. And of course, that's the best win. I mean, look, when it's hard to discount the SEC when Florida State's argument is our best win was against an SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like you can't have both. You can't say on one hand, we're going to exclude one team, but yet at the same time say, oh, well, but the same, but we're going to get Florida State props because their best win was against an SEC team. Like, come on, man. Look, I think Florida State's going to end up getting screwed in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And not to interrupt you, but their SEC win was Florida, who's 5-7.
Well, I mean, they had 2, right? They had 2. They had LSU. They beat LSU.
Oh, LSU as well. And
that's what I'm saying. That's their high-profile win was LSU in week 1 of the season, right? And then you beat a Florida team that, let's call it what it is, hasn't been consistently good since your boy Urban Meyer left. So it's look. I think, and if you're the college football playoff people, the idea that, look, whoever you leave out, and if you leave out, look, Georgia's out. I think we all agree on that. I think it's going to come down to.
They don't. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. But
no, and they don't. But it's like, look, you guys lost the worst game at the worst time. Like, that's the reality of it, right? I mean, timing is everything. But the college football, the playoff committee is going to get an out in all this. Look, they know somebody's going to be mad regardless of who they keep out at number 4. But
isn't that part of the, I guess, the allure of college football, especially the CFP? They do 2 things. They get a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
Number 2, like our boy Henry Thomas said back on Wednesday, it doesn't matter because next year they're finally going to expand the damn thing.
Well, that's my point. Is that okay? So if you do the unthinkable or the unprecedented, where you put in you leave out an undefeated Power 5 team in Florida State, and of course everybody's going to be up in arms, frustration, F the CFP. They're just going to say, you know what, we won't have this problem next year because guess what? We're getting rid of we're expanding to 12, and I promise you. Nobody in their right mind outside of the schools that are involved, no one's going to be fighting or having this kind of scuttlebutt or conversation about who gets left out in 12 versus 13.
I really do think, though, that the college football world is going to be shaking their head if Florida State gets in because they do not want a repeat of last year where TCU just got absolutely pasted.
That game was over after the first quarter. Hell, that game was over midway.
Certainly, who's ever covering that game, they don't want to blow out the first quarter because then their ratings will go to shit.
Now, I would say this though. I will say this. The only thing I could potentially see happening is, do you play Florida State? You put Florida State at 4, Texas at 3. And you have a Michigan-Florida State matchup where, you see kind of what you saw in the Big Ten championship last night, where you've got just 2 really good defenses. And again, I'm not saying that's what people want to see. And let's not forget, Florida State will have its backup quarterback come game.
Yeah, he's going to have a month to get healthy.
Look, it's not like we're talking about, that makes their offense prolific or anything like that. But I'm with you, Mike. I just feel like, this isn't Cardell Jones. This isn't, people forget that in that Cardell Jones game when he made it when he took Ohio State to the championship, they beat Wisconsin 59-0 in the Big Ten championship game, right? So like they had that pelt on the wall, like, oh, okay, this backup quarterback's actually pretty dadgum good.
Yeah,
like Cardell Jones, like yeah. I mean, we know he's a backup, but there wasn't a huge drop off from the starter to him. So, and we saw last night, there's that Florida State offense just doesn't look the same. So we're going to find out here within the next 20 to 30 minutes who's going to be. I mean, look, we already know who the top two teams are. We already know Washington and Michigan are in. So who 3 and 4 are is going to be a testament to everybody. So we'll wait and see. We'll get you guys going on that. Now, that being said, before we'll stand by on that. It's obviously week 13 in the National Football League. We're getting down to the nitty gritty and come fantasy football playoff time. Your boy's trying to backdoor his way into a playoff bid right now. I'm sitting at 6-5 right now. No, wait, what am I? Am I 6-6? Maybe I'm 6-6. No, I'm 6-6. I'm 6-6. I got 2 games left. 2 games left for your boy to squeeze in the playoffs. We'll wait and see. Speaking of teams that are going to try to squeeze in the playoffs, you got Green Bay trying to do that. Chiefs, obviously, they're in a good way right now. The biggest thing for me with this Kansas City Chiefs team tonight is going to be, one, and of course, you probably heard this already, Mike, is that this is the first time Pat Mahomes has ever played in Lambeau Field. So that's great for him. The question on everybody's mind is, does Jordan Love continue his hot streak that he's been on, 4 or 5 games in a row now where he's playing out of his mind? Does he continue it tonight against the Kansas City Chiefs? I think he's going to play well, but I think ultimately the Chiefs just have too much. I don't want to say on offense because that would be a little bit premature, but I think the defense is going to do enough tonight to fluster him and take away the things he likes to do, especially Christian Watson, especially Jaden Reed. I like the Chiefs to win 27-17 tonight.
Yeah, so, I know that Jordan Love has played better as of late, Freddie D, but they really avoided disaster Thanksgiving Day only because Detroit turned the ball over twice in serious minus territory in the first half. And that game was over by the first half. Even though the score was 29-22, it was made a lot closer than it should have been.
Yeah, it was.
And Jordan Love's going to have to do it again without Aaron Jones, who we can say has been a lost season for him. He's out again with his knee injury. His backup, A.J. Dillon, is questionable with a groin injury, but should play today. We'll see how effective he is. You're right. He's going to have to do it with his receivers. It's going to be a night game, and it's going to be cold. Projection is 31 degrees tonight with a slight chance of snow, 14% last time I checked. But Patrick Mahomes having another, solid season, not a great season by his standards, but he should break the 3,000-yard passing mark today. I think he's like less than 100 yards away, I think, something like that.
Okay.
Rashid Rice needs to get the ball in space like he did against the Raiders.
Yes, he does.
Travis Kelce needs to not get double teamed like he did against the Raiders. We don't want to talk about that, but for KC to win, also they need to let their defense do their thing and limit the turnovers. If they limit the turnovers, look, this is kind of a trap game for me. If you're a Chiefs fan, they are.
You got Buffalo next week.
You got Buffalo next week. You're a 6-point favorite. You're playing a team that's still 5-6. They're still struggling. You are still the class of the AFC. Get the hell out of there. Get a win. Get on the plane, or hopefully the plane takes off. And just get ready for Buffalo. But don't turn the ball over. Just play solid, mistake-free football, and everything should take care of itself.
I think they'll be all right from a trap game standpoint because I think they got, after getting rope-a-doped against Denver a few weeks ago, kind of looking ahead to the Miami game the following week, I think maybe they got a little – and, of course, that was a division game, and Denver played them tough. And, of course, now we all know Denver's in the midst of a 5-game win streak. It might be the hottest team in the National Football League right now. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. I think the trap game is real. But I think, too, this is kind of – and we've heard this time and time again, especially in the last week or two, that for most NFL teams, especially teams like the Chiefs, teams that have, Super Bowl aspirations, you start to flip that switch for real after Thanksgiving. Like there are no more, like this is, to your point, Mike, teams like the Chiefs should not be getting seduced into trap games tonight, right? Like the Chiefs go in, and I think they'll be fine just as a fact that, one, you got a guy like Andy Reid who's got history in Green Bay. Mahomes has never been there before. It's the Sunday night game. Like you alluded to, it's going to be cold there tonight. And, I could see the Chiefs running the ball a little bit more. And I think, from an offensive standpoint, again, if you can run the ball better, and we might see a more concerted effort. Now, Jerick McKinnon is out today. He's got a groin issue. So I think Deion Edwards or something like that. It's not P. Ryan. I can't think of who it is. I'll come to it here in a second. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see a little bit more of your boy Clyde Edwards-Helaire tonight as well. Maybe a little more short, quick passing game type stuff tonight where, like a guy like you alluded to already, Rashee Rice is going to eat tonight. So, and of course, the one guy that, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Mike, because I've been fighting with people on Twitter about this all week. Zach Ertz was released earlier in the week by the Arizona Cardinals. And, again, it's not very often that you see a guy of his ilk. Now, look, we know this is not prime Zach Ertz in Philadelphia, Zach Ertz, right? Like, we get that. And he's only got, 23 catches or something like that, 27 catches for 187 yards, 6 yards a pop, something like that. So he's not putting up anywhere near to the numbers that you would expect from a Zach Ertz. He's been hurt. We get it. That being said, he's a Super Bowl winner. He's a Pro Bowler. At one time, he was one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And you only need him for 8 games. Okay, you only need him for 8 games.
Yeah, not just that, Freddie D. I mean, his contract would not be guaranteed. It wouldn't be.
You sign him for the veteran minimum. I mean, you're signing him for fucking chump.
He wouldn't count against the cap, for crying out loud. He is so motivated. He was so motivated to get out of Arizona and find a fresh start with a contender that he sacrificed a game check.
What's that?
What's that?
I said, what's that? Like our boy Henry Thomas said, what's that tell you?
What's that tell you? I mean, it's just like, I will pay you to let me leave. All right?
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what he said.
And what is wrong with having a dual threat at tight end? Many teams go to a 2 or even a 3 tight end set sometimes. Now, obviously, they're going to a 3 tight end set when they're running on short yardage situation. But listen, before Aaron Hernandez decided to be a multiple mass murderer, him and Rob Gronkowski formed a pretty sizable duo.
Which technically, I want to say he was a mass murderer by the time he was running those 2 tight end sets with the New England Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. I think he'd already shot one person down in Florida, and I think he killed somebody in Boston too, if I'm not mistaken. So they've already,
you know what I mean? I mean,
tight end multi-murder set. So something to think about. And we know Zach Ertz is not, at least from what we understand, has not killed anybody. And by the way, his wife just retired from the women's national team.
Well, then what the hell are we waiting for here? I mean, look, all signs point to him going to either Kansas City or Baltimore
or Philly.
Or even Philly, who are still without Dallas Goedert.
I was going to say they're without Dallas Goedert. Adam Schefter dropped something yesterday, the day before, where basically, like you said, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, and dadgummit, there was one more team, and the Eagles. The Eagles. Yeah. So he's got his. I mean, look, he's got his choices, right? I mean,
I'm surprised it hasn't happened
already. He's probably. You know why? I bet you he's a little surprised. To be honest with you, I mean, look, that's one of those deals where if you're a Zach Ertz, and all of a sudden, I mean, look, you can always go back to Philly. But if you've got the Bills reaching out to you, if you've got the Chiefs reaching out to you, and suddenly it's like, okay, I could play with
Josh Allen,
or well, what I was thinking, if you could play with Pat Mahomes and I'm going to be playing with Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be the number 2 guy, number 3 guy. And the Chiefs thing might intrigue him more just for the simple fact that, okay, you're going to be playing in an offense that's got a lot of the same components and pieces to it that you had when you played with Doug Peterson and you were balling.
The only question is how many offensive sets, passing plays does Andy Reid have with 2 tight ends?
Look, he's got a gob. Here's what the reality is. One, you've had a second tight end. And again, when you've got, I mean, think about it this way. When you've got Travis Kelce, and I think this is kind of the fight that I've been getting into with Chiefs fans over the last few weeks, or this week specifically. Oh, we've got Travis Kelce. We don't need Zach Ertz. Oh, we've got a great tight end room. Well, okay, stop.
Lose your handle. Lose, yeah. Just
Well, my thing
stop.
is everybody, I had to call my cousin about this because I was like, everybody's like, oh, we got Noah Gray. He's thriving. And I responded because I was tired of fighting with people.
Thriving?
His words, not mine. And I said, explain to me how he's thriving. And it was something along the lines of, he'd be starting for other teams. And I said, look,
he's got less than 250 yards of receiving this year. He's got one freaking touchdown.
And this is my thing, okay? And you and I have talked about this, and Henry and I talked about this last week, is if we're, we always talk about how when you've got a stud D end and you put another D end on the other end, right? Like a good, like let's just use, Max Crosby and your boy Tyree Wilson as an example, right? So from that standpoint, you would think, okay, well, Tyree Wilson is not going to be getting the double teams. He should be getting a lot of one-on-ones. So we think he should probably, because everybody's so focused on a guy like a Max Crosby, as they should, that a guy, the other ends should eat, or at least, at the very least, be in position to make plays. I say the same thing with the tight end position. If you've got Travis Kelce, who we already know is drawing all kinds of attention, shouldn't you at least be able to make some big plays from another tight end standpoint, especially when you're in an offense that's struggled as mightily as the Chiefs have at times this year from a pass catching perspective? So, that's my thing. I mean, look, I'm not saying Noah Gray's not a bad NFL player, but this is a guy who you and I've told you time and time again, I've called into Kansas City radio shows. I've talked about him on this show time and time again, not just this year, but last year, as, when is 83 going to step up? When's 83 going to be that guy that just pops off and has a game where you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was possible. Year 3, and the most catches he's ever had in a game is 3. Okay, like that's who Noah Gray is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if Noah Gray was going to be a difference maker, we would have seen it by now. Okay, he is what he is. He's a backup tight end. Okay, he's nothing special, but he's dare I say, just another guy. But he's a decent backup tight end, and that's it. And that's all he is. Because and I've said this on Twitter, and I'll say this again. And if anybody wants to chime in, let me know. Name me the one time when Noah Gray made a play and you said to yourself, that guy's going to be a beast.
Yeah.
I'll hang up and listen. Go get Zach Ertz. That's it. You need him for 8 games. People said, oh, he's washed. Guess what? Terrell Suggs, that first Super Bowl run against the 49ers, everybody was like, the Chiefs picked him up after he got cut by the Cardinals. Picked him up at like week 14, week 15, something like that. Everybody's like, oh, he's washed. Tell you what, made some very big plays down the stretch in both the playoffs and in the Super Bowl for the Beckham team. Okay, Odell Beckham Jr., another great example. If you can get a veteran guy when you don't have much to, when it's one of those deals where it's like, look, hey, big fella.
Here's the thing too, Freddie D. He's tasted a Super Bowl ring.
Well, that's just it. He knows what to do. He knows
not just that, but he's got that hunger, right?
Yeah. No,
he wants another one. Wants to get back. Like flying first class. Once you've flown first class, you want to go back.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, he's been spoiled. And like I said, I don't think the concepts. I don't think the just how they go about their business in Kansas City as far as the offense. I don't think it would be a huge upgrade, or excuse me, I don't think there'd be a huge learning curve. Like I said, he's been in the league 8, 9, 10 years already. So again, you go in there, Andy Reid, do his thing. Give me 2-3 catches a game. I like the Chiefs 27-17. What say you?
Oh, I was going to say 27-10. I don't think the Packers are going to score against that Chiefs defense. I really don't. I like the progression I've seen out of Jordan Love these last 3 or 4 weeks. But, again, last week was a product more of Jared Goff turning the ball over than Jordan Love doing some great things to win that game. I just think that last week showed that Rashid Rice can really be a difference maker if he's given the ball in space. And so I think that they will do that. Again, the weather may be a factor, but again, said again twice, when it starts to snow and the weather starts to turn a little bad, it favors the offense.
Oh, yeah.
Then the Chiefs offense is better than the Packers offense for sure. So I really like the Chiefs to go away, to win going away on this game.
I will say this about Jordan Love. I mean, he's certainly, for a guy that, at one point was averaging, was completing less than 60% of his passes, completed 70% against the Lions. 70% damn near against the Chargers, outside of kind of a blip against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, was solid against the Rams. So, I mean, he's definitely gotten better. They've won 3 out of their last 4. So yeah, it's. I mean, again, I think, and again, this is a huge home game for them. This is one of those kind of, where are we at barometer wise, and look, they're saying to themselves, look, Denver got to them. Why can't we? I'm with you though. I think the Chiefs defense is going to do enough to slow things down. I'm with you. I like the Chiefs tonight as well. And then, of course, hopefully we'll know in the next day or two. I tell you what, he's not the only big free agent signing that we're waiting on this week. Mike Babos, of course, quick pivot. Your boy Shohei is allegedly supposed to come to a, now that the winter meetings are starting today, the Major League Baseball owner meetings, they're saying that they expect something to be done this week with your boy Shohei.
Well, he's been visiting a lot of teams over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and they've been keeping it very, very mum as to who they visit, because that's a directive from the agent, and the agent is saying, look, if there's any leaks about, from any of you teams as to what was discussed, or even the fact that we did visit you, we're going to cross you off the list.
Yeah,
one of the surprising teams that is not in the running anymore is the Seattle Mariners, who have a huge Asian American contingent in the Pacific Northwest. And, when they hosted the All-Star game, there were tons of signs, banners out there begging Shohei Ohtani to come out to Seattle and play. And they can make a run to the AL West for sure. There's the usual, favorites. The Dodgers are a favorite. The Yankees have been talked about a lot, although I don't think I think honestly Shohei wants to win, and the Yankees roster is so flawed. I don't think he'll want to go there. Keep in mind too, Shohei's not going to pitch next year.
No, he's not.
He's just going to be a very highly paid DH. I mean, and whoever is going to want his services, they're going to have to start, in somewhere in the north of $600 million, and that's a lot.
It's crazy.
What's that?
I said it's just crazy. Look, I get it.
Crazy talk. It's nuts. I mean,
it's bonkers, bro. It's
right.
bonkers.
He's a generational talent, but again, this is going to be his 6th reconstructive surgery second reconstructive surgery on that arm, and usually your first Tommy John surgery goes well, and you're better than new, but the second one, not so much. So they're taking a huge risk on a guy who's going to be. Are the Yankees? Speaking of the Yankees, I mean they still have Giancarlo Stanton, as a quote unquote part-time DH if he's ever on the field. They still need to make at bats for Aaron Judge to give him a blow from being out in right field, and they just have a right-handed heavy, strikeout heavy roster. I don't think that they're going to do it. I don't think the.
Well, actually, they're in the Soto chase as well.
Yeah, but I don't think they have enough in terms of prospects to trade for him.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But the Padres are going to have to do something, because their owner tragically passed away after fighting cancer. Peter Seidler, I think that's his name.
Yeah, young guy. He's only in his early 60s too.
Yeah, he was young. I think he was 62. And so now the heirs of his estate are already talking about curbing payroll. Well, this on the heels of
they had to get a loan, for God's sakes.
They did.
And loan.
Well, they had to get a loan, and also they lost their TV contract with Bally's because they went bankrupt, and so Major League Baseball only guaranteed to pick up that deal, but for 80% of the current deal that they had with Bally's. And this year, they're not covering anything. And let's face it, the Padres don't have much of a fan base. I mean, to the west of them is the Pacific Ocean, to the east is a desert, to the south is Mexico, and to the north is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
He said to the west of them is the ocean.
So Really, I mean,
You tried to get fish in. Do you remember the last time you tried to get sea creatures involved in a baseball in a baseball hot stove? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I mean they really don't have that kind of cheddar to afford tickets. And,
well, first of all, fish can't even. I mean, think about it. You got to understand. The reception in the water can't be that great. Okay, I don't know anybody that can stream underwater. Fish don't do well on land, so it's a tough sell for everybody involved when you think about it. So let's just move the Padres as a franchise. Let's just move them and be done with them. All right, let's get down to speaking of fans to the west being in the ocean. San Francisco, huge game, arguably the game of the day today, without a doubt, is the San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, I think this is I don't think it's being hyperbolic, Mike, and saying that this is probably your NFC championship preview. And it's a
rematch,
replay from last week or last year.
Right.
We just hope that, and I've heard people talk all week. This is the game for nobody has more to prove today than Brock Purdy, right? Like nobody has more to me. I mean, look, if the Eagles lost today, they'd still be number one, and I don't know that there would be a huge depending upon how they lost. But if it's a close game, kind of like the way the Chiefs and them went a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, I don't think it would be a huge surprise. In fact, I expect that to kind of go that script. But no, today's all about Brock Purdy because again, all we heard was this was the better team last year. They were hotter last year. And if they don't lose Brock Purdy, they win that game last year. So today, to me, is about number 13 for the 49ers.
Well, I totally agree. But I'll go on a limb here, Freddie D. I looked at this. I looked at all the matchups. And on paper, the Niners should blow these guys out. Even in Philly.
They are tough.
They do everything well. They are third in offense with 28 points a game, as well as the Eagles are. It's kind of interesting how they're tied in that. But they are tops in defense, allowing only 15.5 points a game. They are plus 11 in the turnover ratio, whereas Philly is -2. San Francisco's a field goal away from starting the season 6-0 and being 9-2. And Philly should have lost that game in overtime yesterday to Buffalo. They were down 10 points. It was just a costly Josh Allen interception that brought
Marquez Valdes-Scantling knows how to fucking catch a ball. They lose 2 weeks in a row.
Exactly. And so
but that's what good teams do, though. I mean, there's something to be said for that, though, right?
They overcome bad performances. Right. Certainly. And it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. But
that's it. Yeah,
and AJ Brown has been quiet the last 3 weeks. He's averaged only like 37 yards receiving.
Yeah,
and only 2 touchdowns total after averaging 140 yards a game the previous 6 games. He's still got 1,000 yards, but as you've seen, Freddie D, when you were watching that Kansas City game, he was getting quite animated, quite frustrated with the lack of targets. So we'll see if the Niners defense can hold him down and get him more frustrated just as much. That the Philadelphia defense is also suspect. They've allowed 255 yards per game through the air, and that's near the bottom in the NFL. Fletcher Cox, the defensive tackle, he was injured last week, and he is questionable with a groin injury. Dallas Goedert is still out with that broken forearm. Yeah. The Niners, on the other hand, the only injury designation is Eric Armstead, their defensive end. He's questionable with a foot injury, but they're so deep on the D line, and they've got such a strong front seven. It's just, dare I say, I'm not sure if they're going to miss him that much, but you want a guy in there like that. But you're right. I mean, it all comes down to Brock Purdy. When the Niners have won, he has taken care of the football. He hasn't thrown an interception. When they are lost, he is three touchdowns and 5 interceptions in those 3 losses. So he's got to really take care of the ball, get the ball to his playmakers, who are all healthy now. All right.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, still my pick for offensive player of the year. Deebo Samuel having a great year, not as great as 2 years ago, but still having a very solid year. Brandon Ayuk has come on very strong.
No, he's played well.
And of course, George Kittle, he's nearly unguardable. I mean, dare I say he's Travis Kelce-like. So, again, the Niners do everything well on both sides of the ball. I just think that on paper they're so strong. I just don't think that the Eagles can match them point for point. Look, I love Jalen Hurts. I mean, 26 yards passing, 2,600 yards passing, 18 touchdowns. But he also has 11 touchdowns on the ground.
He's had a monster year. I mean,
he's had a monster year.
MVP favorite.
Yeah, he's him and McCaffrey are going to split votes for player of the year for certain. But he is their offense, and so if the Niners can hold him down, I think they should win going away. The Eagles are. Let me see where I think they are. Yeah, actually, the Eagles are a 3-point dog. I think the Niners actually cover. I think they win like 28-16.
28-16. I like it. I'm going 31-27 San Francisco. I think it's going to be I think it. Look, Philly's. It's at home.
Yeah.
They play it's not every day that you get a 10-1 team with being looked at as an underdog. So, Nick Sirianni is going to play that up to the T and they're going to, us against the world type mentality, which in professional sports, you don't get it, as a favorite, you don't get to use that card very often. So I expect this to be a hard fought game, but I like San Francisco to do what they need to do at the end. 31-27 is my final score. So you've got them 28-16 San Francisco as well. All right. They're going to announce the college football playoff here. The selection show's going on right now.
Yeah, the AP poll already came out, and they've got Michigan and Washington 1-2.
Okay, yeah, because
3, Florida State's 4, Bama 5, Georgia 6. That's the AP poll.
Okay, so the number 1 is Michigan at 13-0. So there's that. All right, so we got Michigan at number 1. All right, so we're waiting for them at number 2, and of course we already know number 2 is going to be Washington, so no big surprise there. Denver at Houston. This might be the low-key lightweight game of the day after Philadelphia and San Francisco. Obviously, not the panache and the pomp and circumstance that goes around what San Francisco and Philadelphia is, considering how good they've been in the last half decade. But you've got a Denver team that is the hottest team in the National Football League right now, not named the Philadelphia Eagles. We've talked about how great that defense has looked. We've talked about how Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, after a rough start to the year, are finally starting to come together. And even though Russell Wilson is stat-wise is not having his best year, from a statistical standpoint, he's doing exactly what Sean Payton needs him to do. And that's, look, we're going to run the ball on first and second down, and then we're going to throw when we need to on third. And Russell Wilson, who's a damn good quarterback when he wants to be, he can handle that. He can handle that weight that load, and it's not too much to ask. Big game though for these two, right? Because this is those two are in that conversation for that 6th or 7th playoff spot. I want to say I like Houston to win this game. I would not be at all surprised if Denver came in and somehow, some way, found a way to squeak by the Texans.
Yeah, both teams are 6-5. Both teams are on the upswing, looking at a playoff run. Like you said, Freddie D, after starting 1-5, the Broncos have ripped off 5 in a row. They are tops in forced turnovers. That defense with 22, +8 in the turnover margin.
Texas is number 3.
I'm sorry?
Texas is the number 3 team in the college football playoff.
Wow. Good for them.
So we are now about to find out whether it's going to be Florida State or Alabama. It'll be nuts to me if they leave out. Who would you be more surprised by? Them leaving out Florida State or them leaving out Alabama?
You can't leave out Florida State. I would be surprised if they left out Florida State because they went undefeated. They played everybody on their schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the point is that you made was really, really good, Fred. I know we're kind of getting off the rails here, but the fact is that in a month they get their backup quarterback back.
Yeah, they do.
And so you have to think about that opportunity there. You have to think about the team that's going to be put in there. But
so Florida State has the 55th toughest schedule in America for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Key wins for Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. Key wins for Florida State, LSU, and Louisville. And I'm sorry, but after watching that Louisville game, Louisville, I will say this: their defense was pretty decent. I'll give Louisville's defense credit.
LSU's offense starts and ends with Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy candidate.
It certainly does.
Heisman Trophy favorite, really.
It does pain me to see that one of Georgia's key wins was against Missouri this year. That hurts the heart a little bit. All right, so we're waiting on number 4. Whoa!
Are you sure? Wait a minute. Where are you getting this? Because I'm not seeing this on ESPN. All I got is the AP.
No, this is on ESPN. I've got it on ESPN the channel, and they had Georgia. So Georgia was number 6.
Oh, there it is. College football playoff rankings.
There you go.
Georgia. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, so they're doing this backwards, right? Because obviously they're doing this for.
No, they got Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida. Is that from? Oh, that's from week 14.
I'm gonna say. All right, so we're waiting on them. Alabama is number 4.
Where are you?
Florida State gets left out of the college football playoff. Holy frickin' Toledo.
Where are you in this thing? Where are you seeing this?
This is on, what channel am I on? ESPN.
Are you watching TV? Or are you on the website?
I'm on TV.
So it's Michigan.
So you had Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. That's your top 4. Florida State has been left out. I mean, look.
Georgia's left out. Boy,
what's that?
You go from 1 to 5. Well,
which I don't have. Well, but look, Georgia.
Like you said, you picked a lousy time to lose.
That's it. Guess what? And we've known this for years. If you're going to lose a game, lose at the beginning of the year, not at the end of the year.
Right.
If you're going to lose a quarterback, lose them at the beginning of the year, not at the end of the year. All right. So sorry about your Florida State, but that's too bad.
You know what? I'm not mad about that because Alabama, like I said, they've been the most improved team in college football this year. They're playing as good as anybody. They beat the number 1 team who've been undefeated the last 29 weeks in their own town. That's not easy to do.
Well, and like I told you, Florida State, what right, wrong, or indifferent, guess what? Guess who one of your best wins were against? SEC team. So, and I'm sorry, but Louisville was shit. All right. Denver, Houston, we already talked about them a little bit.
Let me
I'm going to give Denver the upset win here. I really
am. I am too. I just don't think that. Look, I love what the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year favorite C.J. Stroud is doing. They're but he let one slip away. I mean, at home against Jacksonville, and that really hurt their playoff chances and their chances to really kind of grab the AFC South by the balls. Tank Bell is back. So is Noah Brown. They're questionable, but they're expected to play.
Yeah, no, he is active.
But I just don't think. I just think that Denver has got too much momentum for the rookie to pull this off. I think Denver wins this 23-20.
Okay, I'm with you. I like Denver to win 2017. So you and I are
right
on the same page on that one. Although I would be okay with C.J. Stroud going off because I do him as my fantasy.
Russell Wilson is on 143 pass attempts without throwing an interception. He's taking care of the football. Who's also having a great year, Freddie D, is Cortland Sutton. This guy's tied for 3rd in the NFL with 8 touchdowns.
Well, look, for a group that was much maligned to start the year, and all we heard about was how the Broncos were going to be sellers at the trade deadline, and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, as you alluded to, are both still on the roster and playing pretty good football. So I'm not surprised by that one bit. All right, Cincinnati, Jacksonville. This could be the death knell for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think it will be. And this just continues to be Jacksonville, and I got Jacksonville winning tomorrow. And look, it's one of those games where Jacksonville needs to continue to win games like this to showcase who they are, that they're a real threat in the AFC. I think that's why the win last week against the Texans was so important, and why it was a must win for them to kind of demonstrate, not just to the AFC, but to themselves that, we are a team to be reckoned with. And I think today, tomorrow is another kind of notch on that belt as well that you need to showcase. You should take care of business against the Cincinnati team that, as you and I have talked about time and time again, Mike. Look, if Joe Burrow's in this game, this is maybe the third best game of the week. Instead, you got Jake Browning, and look, maybe he plays well tomorrow because he's excited about his Washington Huskies being in the playoffs. I don't know. I still like Jacksonville to take care of business, and I hope Calvin Ridley has 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Jacksonville is going for legitimacy here because after getting blown out at home, coming off the bye by the Niners, a lot of people were questioning whether they were for real. And so to go to Houston in that hostile environment, Battle Red Day, and they overcame themselves, really. It was an ugly affair, but they won. And winning on the road says a lot in the NFL. They're 8-3. They got a chance to really put a stake into the Bengals' playoff hopes. The Bengals are kind of circling the drain. They're at 5-6. Jake Browning does get T. Higgins back finally from a hamstring injury. For the first time in like a month, I think. And he's got to give he's got his full complement of weapons. He's got Jamar Chase, who needs only 86 yards to reach 1,000 yards receiving this year. Of course, Joe Mixon's having an excellent, if unspectacular year running the ball. Speaking of which, running the ball, I mean, both of these teams have issues in the run game. Their offense, Cincinnati's run offense is like 27th in yards per attempt at only 3.8, but they're giving up 5 yards a pop on the ground. So if they could do that, I mean, if they could, give Joe Mixon the ball, somewhat, but and mix some time. Don't put the ball into Jake Browning's hands because let's face it, he was better last week than he was the week before, but he's still a backup and he's still, he still could run into a very tough Jacksonville defense. Trevor Lawrence should get 3,000 yards this week, or should surpass 3,000 yards for the year if he throws over 254 yards today. Travis Etienne is having quietly a solid season. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns, over 725 yards on the ground. This is a good chance for them to solidify their lead in the AFC South with a win. And also, looking ahead, the remaining schedule looks pretty decent for them. I mean, their opponents have a combined 25-31 record. They're going to be playing teams like Tampa Bay, Carolina, and their only remaining divisional opponent is Tennessee. I think that's at home the last week of the season. And Tampa Bay and Tennessee are 4-7. Carolina, we know what a dumpster fire they are. I like Jacksonville in this game. They are an 8.5 points favorite. I don't know if they cover though, because I still think that T-Law tends to throw too many interceptions sometimes. And let me 28-24.
Fair. I got him 24-16, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll rapid fire these last two, and then get your fantasy lineup set because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I got one more that I need to work with. Cleveland Rams. This is a game that's pertinent to you, Mike Babbo. Big weekend for you. Big weekend for you. This Browns game could be a little tricky just because you got Joe Flacco coming back, and people forget he did play last year with the Jets. So it's not like this guy's been sitting on the bench for the last half decade. He actually has been seen NFL action within the last 12 months. He's also a guy that, again, is not going to do too much, is going to manage the game and knows the system very well because Stefanski runs portions and elements of the Gary Kubiak offense, which is what Joe Flacco played his best or put up his best numbers ever was in the Kubiak offense. So tell you all that to tell you this. Rams are back in the playoff hunt, and if they win today, they are squarely in the playoff hunt. I like the Rams despite the Browns defense. The game's at home. It's an old quarterback. Rams are playing good football right now. I think they find a way to pull off an upset, but I think they find a way to outlast the Browns today.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that bringing in 38-year-old Joe Flacco says a hell of a lot about P.J. Walker and his prep. When he's been on the team the entire year, and here you got bringing a guy in off the street. Granted, he did play last year, but he's got to be rusty. He's twice the kid's age, almost, and he's taking your job. And so, Amari Cooper's finally back. He's off the injury report. That's good. I think that Cleveland's going to try and run the ball a lot, but I don't think that they can contain the LA Rams defense, which has been playing a lot better. Myles Garrett will play.
Yeah.
Apparently, he avoided a serious shoulder injury last week against Denver. But I just think the Rams have way too many weapons with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and now Kyren Williams back.
Kyren Williams is
He
back.
went bananas last week.
Yeah,
Right?
he did.
So
Had him on my bench too. Didn't play him. How about that?
what's that? Had him on
my bench. Didn't play him.
Good
Still
for
won the
you.
game though. Still won the game though. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
That's good fantasy management there.
Well, he was the last second because I was checking my lineup and I'm terrible about it. I've been a shit show. That's the reason why I'm doing
5 and 6.
But no, I waited and then there was like, oh well, he's a game time decision. So then I kind of forgot and blah 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 whatever. All right, so you like the Rams?
He's a chance to get right. You need to put him in your lineup. I don't care if Myles.
Oh, he's in there now. Trust me on that. He's in there now.
I like the Rams to win 21-17.
Gotcha. Love it. 21-17. Beautiful.
They need to win because you
don't care if they win fucking 3-2. You just
I don't give a shit what the score.
You don't care if it's a -4 to -5 win, as long as the Rams are victorious.
Right.
Last but certainly not least, the reason why I got this on here is because this is a must-win game for the Saints. The NFC South, even though it is a dumpster fire, pretty much whoever wins that division is going to be playing the Cowboys in the postseason. And so you got a Detroit team that is coming off. Let's call it what it is. Coming off that beatdown,
bad loss.
Green Bay Packers. So they need to come back and they need to win in a big way to kind of let people know that, for a team that going into the Thanksgiving weekend was a team that people said, hey, this team could compete for a number 1 seed. This is a team that, could make a run to the Super Bowl. They get blown out at home on national TV. And again, we talk about this throughout the course of the show. We've talked about this throughout the course of the year. You got the haves, you got the have-nots. We know that Detroit's been a have-not for a long time. They're trying to eat their way into have territory. Didn't do it on Thursday. If they lose today, and let me make sure, I want to say that game is in that game's in New Orleans. Okay, so that game's in New Orleans. If
Saints are a 4-point dog at home.
If the Saints win that game today, then all of a sudden, all the feel good, all the excitement, all the good vibes that have surrounded the Detroit Lions all year long, and where we've said, okay, this is no longer, Detroit fans have been up in arms about how, this is our year finally, and it's been great to see. You lose again back-to-back weeks to teams that you were favored to beat and were better than. Suddenly, Dan Campbell and that Detroit offense and team has some splaining to do, and it goes from, okay, this is the upstart Lions who are ready to make a move to, oh, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah, for them to just absolutely shit the bed in front of their fans, in front of national television on Thanksgiving Day, when so many things were going right for them throughout the year. Dan Campbell's a feel-good story, coach of the year most likely. Jared Goff had been doing well. Now, granted, the previous week he threw 3 interceptions, but it comes down to whether the Lions can take care of the football. On paper, they should kill the Saints. Derek Carr hasn't thrown a touchdown in a month. They didn't even get in the end zone last week.
No.
So they're leaving it up to Jameis Winston now. The last couple of weeks, but Derek Carr's back from his concussion and his knee injury and stuff. But who knows if he suffers another one, what's going to happen to him?
Bro, I just feel like
I think Saints fans, Freddie D, are figuring out what Raider fans have been figuring or tried to figure out over the last 9 years. They're already done with him. They're like, this. He is who he is,
That's I'll tell you what, and I hate to say this, but it's one of those deals where Derek Carr, I think we saw the best of Derek Carr 2 years ago in those last 6 or 7 games with Rich Bisaccia. I think that was
I would argue his best was in 2016 when he was having a near MVP season before he broke.
Well, no, that was. I mean, that's hands down his best. But I think the last that we've seen of what he's capable of, like that guy, like I think that's gone. I think that Derek Carr that we saw in those last 6 or 7 games with Rich Bisaccia, like that guy, we're never going to see again. That guy, that guy's come and gone. And I mean, look, kudos to him. What did he sign? A 3-year, $150 million deal or something, or 4-year, $150 million deal, or whatever it was, or something stupid like that. So, kudos to him. I mean, he's going to get paid, and chances are he'll be a backup the next 2 years. But look, I say all that to say this: would you be surprised at all if Derek Carr somehow pulls a rabbit out of his hat today and somehow looks vintage Derek Carr and they find a way to win 24-23 or some shit like that? I wouldn't.
No, because in the 9 years that he was with the Raiders, I think the last 5 of them over that 5-year period, he led the NFL in comeback wins with, I think, like 23 or something. And so he is capable of doing it.
He absolutely is.
The issue is that Michael Thomas is out again. He's on the IR.
Is that a big deal, though?
It isn't, except for the fact that Chris Olave is also nursing some injuries.
No, but he's playing today, though.
He's playing today.
He is active.
He's active, but you just need to look. You got to have time to throw the ball, and the problem with Derek is that he doesn't take care of the football when the pocket collapses around him. He tends to fumble the ball.
He's a mess. He's a mess, and I would take it a step further, Mike, in that if you, especially when you see the way that the Saints looked a week ago when he got hurt, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, when he got hurt, and then Jameis came in and almost brought him back to victory. And look, I get it. We already know what you're getting with Jameis Winston. I mean, look, he might look like Joe Montana one play and then look like Derek Carr on the next. Either way, A, he's going to be fun to listen to. B, what he's going to bring to the, what he brings to the game as far as just his overall effort level. And I think he does have the respect of his teammates. I think if Derek Carr goes out there and lays an egg today, and that offense looks as troubled as it has the last few weeks, I think you finally just go ahead and bench him and say, all right, because he is what he is at this point. Like there's, this isn't Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying? This isn't C.J. Stroud. This isn't Will Levis. This isn't like, let's go see, let's give him the last 5 weeks of the season to see what he can do. We know what Derek Carr is, right? Yeah. Like, and again, it was jacked up how he got let go in Las Vegas, and we all know how that issue played out. And we all know, obviously with everybody being gone from there. But the reality is, okay, Saints, you gave him a bunch of money, and he's looked like dog shit for the first 12 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah, he's looked pretty pedestrian. You could argue it's a whole new offensive scheme again, but Derek's been dealing with new offensive coordinators and head coaches his entire career. He's never had any stability around him. I mean, as soon as things start going good, even the John Gruden 2.0, what did Gruden do before the 2021 season? Blew up the offensive line, sent Ricky James packing. It's just Andre James packing. And just why would you do such a thing? I mean, so Derek this is nothing new for him. He's weathered many, many storms, from the John Gruden firing to the Henry Ruggs tragedy to Damon Arnett to all of the injuries in the offensive line over the years and stuff. So this is again, Derek can do that. The problem is that it doesn't translate to wins, and he finally has a decent defense. It's so ironic, right? Derek Carr finally leaves the Raiders, who have had a shitty defense his entire career, except for maybe 2 seasons. He leaves, goes to ostensibly a better defense, and what are the Raiders doing? Balling out on defense.
By the way, have you looked at Derek Carr's contract?
No, not since he left. Should I go on a
so very team-friendly deal this year, okay? $1.5 million, $5.7 million signing bonus, $7.2 million cap hit. Can't go wrong with that. His base salary next year is $30 million with a $5.7 million signing bonus with a cap hit of $35 million. And then he gets a $10 million roster bonus in 2025. So if you're a Saints fan, you're stuck with him over the next 2 years, although you could get out of him after year 2 where you'd have you're definitely keeping him next year because you'd have a $52 million cap hit if you let him go versus if you wait till the following year, then you have a $17 million cap hit. So, yeah, he's at least with you for the next for this year and next, at least, if you're the New Orleans Saints. And he's, here's the thing. He's only 32.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's old and decrepit and what have you. It's like
he's a beat up 32.
Yo, he's a beat up 32, all right. He's a beat up 32. That being said, who are we going with? Real quick, last thing.
I got to go with the Lions. I mean, they just got too much firepower. I mean, Hutchinson, the defensive end, he's playing at next level, and I think he's going to create a lot of problems.
I'm picking New Orleans. I'm pulling for all out. Look, I expect to say I'm doing this just to be that guy. I'm doing it to be the contrarian. I'm doing it in solidarity with Florida State getting left out. Okay. Look, if I was a Native American right now, I'd be furious. Okay. Again, another example of us being kept down out of the playoff. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to come up with that excuse here pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to be the first to mention. Okay. We're keeping out the indigenous folks out of the college football playoffs. All right. That's all I'm saying right there. But my Chiefs will win tonight. So let's get that straight. Okay. We're going to right a wrong. Chiefs are going to right a wrong tonight.
Here's a quote. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. It's unfathomable that Florida State, an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, was left out of the college football playoff.
I wouldn't say it was unfathomable. We kind of knew this. Like we've been saying, I mean, it's been the same thing since last night. You can be pissed
off, but you can't be surprised.
No, I mean, we knew this since last night. Your third string quarterback was playing and looked terrible. So, I mean, it's not right. And I'm not a Florida State person, so I could care less one way or the other. But yeah, tough day. Again, that's why I think Jameis Winston gets a start today. I think he comes in relief, and that's why the Saints win. Okay. Boom. All right. Well, look, we got 13 minutes till these games kick off for real. Mike, you got a full day of NFL to watch whatever you want.
Yeah, but you know what, Freddie? I mean, it kind of, being on a bye, especially after a loss, kind of sucks.
Well,
right? I just got to sit here, cool my heels, and hope they don't fucking lay an egg against the fucking Vikings coming off the bye.
You got nothing to worry about. Look, you can chill out, relax today, and just be glad that you're not a Florida State fan. I mean, that's the reality of it.
That's true. I mean,
if anybody's got beef today, it's the fucking Florida State Seminole fan.
Yeah, well, you know what though?
I feel for them. I do. I feel bad. I mean, I'm
going back. Wait. I'm going back 30 years when Free Shoes University and Bobby Bowden got the #1 ranking, even though Notre Dame beat them in '93. So,
Oh, wow. Mike bringing back a 30-year gripe. I appreciate that. Not everybody can do. Tell you what, you've been waiting to pull that card for
a long fucking time for that one.
30 years later, Mike was waiting for this one. Au contraire, mon frère. Let me tell you about 1993. I was 12 years old, so I didn't really have a dog in the fight back then. So we'll just leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to follow at the Bitter Mike, at the Freddie D, and of course follow Chief Studios as well. Subscribe to the channel, give us a follow. We're getting down to the proverbial nitty gritty over these next 5 weeks. So we'll have our boy Bitter Mike on Wednesday, and we may even effort to get our boy Henry Thomas on as well. He said it got good to him last week, so we'll see. He's got a crazy schedule, though, people. He's got a crazy schedule, so we'll see how that works out. But we'll see if we can't get an extra show added in down the stretch. So once again, for the one and only Bitter Mike, I'm still that dude, Freddie D, from H-Town to Kansas City, San Antonio, and all points in between. Have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy your football, and we'll see you when we see you.
See ya.
Boom. Boom. In stream. Done.